Hey, it's Liam from the Cackling Jackal, and a couple of weeks have gone by now, and I've had a little bit of time to work on my guild house. So this will be Guild House Part 2. Made a few changes, I've added a few different bits and pieces, decided to do a couple of things different, and I'll show you what they are at the moment. So here you can see the guild house as it stands currently. I believe the bridge is the last thing I had built in terms of height-wise. So since then, we have added some more rooms. This bottom level will probably be a way that people can go from one building to the other if they want to go via the buildings. I don't exactly figured out how this is going to work. I have got stairs going up from the very bottom level to the second level. I imagine I'll have stairs going kind of all the way up, maybe a spiral staircase in the middle, and then they can just walk across the bridge and go down. I think there might be another way to get between. I might do something with the bottom level so that you can walk from either through the front wall door from the tavern to the sleeping quarters, or there might be another way. I guess as I build it, I'll kind of figure out how things go. So another bit you can kind of notice is different is I've added the spires. I think I added a couple more spires than what the picture had, but for me, it balanced it out. It looked really cool and added a sense of magic and fantasy to this whole building, more than it just being a normal building. Well, you know what, the bridge kind of helps add to that as well. These were actually a lot simpler than what I originally thought. When I was first looking at it, I was kind of struggling with how the hell am I going to do these spires? How am I going to do these towers? I ended up getting PVC pipe. We do a lot of construction here, so I actually had some lying around that I could use. However, it is quite cheap if you didn't buy it. I believe you can buy it from Bunnings. You can buy it from plumbing stores. It's the most common kind of pipe there is. I got a few different diameters on purpose because I feel like having the difference in heights, having the difference in diameters and all that kind of stuff gives it a sense of uniqueness and quirkiness. And while a lot of this building is symmetrical, I feel like having just the points around that are not symmetrical kind of gives it character. Anyway, so storing this is a little tricky. Well, at the moment it's not too bad. I've got a big area I can store it in. However, long-term storage, because I don't want to just bin this after I'm done with it, storing it, everything has to kind of compact relatively small. So the good thing is, as every layer comes off, I can actually store every layer at approximately, I think that's 2 inches, which is about 50 mil here in Australia. So it doesn't really need a whole lot of room. I could store it all, I don't know, under my bed or on shelves or in different sections like that. Or I could store it assembled as it is. However, these columns or pillars or towers, whatever we're going to call them, these were going to be tricky. Originally, I'd planned on just gluing them on, but if I had done that, if you turn around from the back, so this is the front view. I turn this around. Now, this is the back of the tower. You can see how tall they are. If I had actually glued these straight on, that is now a huge piece I have to store. What I decided on the end was I ended up making these little wooden, I'm going to call them pegs, which basically just kind of fit into here. Whenever I disassemble them, I've got them all numbered so that I know where everything goes. So the 4 goes with 4. They're obviously made for each one. The way I did this, now, when I was first thinking about how the hell am I going to figure out how this works, I was thinking about it for a while. In the end, one second, I've got it over here. Let's grab all this. This is what I ended up using. So, I would first of all, I'll use it on, I haven't got rid of the big ones, I've got the small ones. Let's give you an example of the small one. I'll put that just in the middle for now. Let's turn this back around. Okay, one of the small ones. You can see there's that thing here. This is the angle. The angle I figured out by getting a compass or a protractor. What was the protractor? What was it? I forget the name of the tool. Maybe it is protractor. And actually measure what this angle is off a level ground. So if this was 0, it works out to that was, I think, 30 or 60. One of the two. I can't remember off the top of my head. Either way, I figured out what the angle was. Cut all these to match. I cut it on the drop saw because I found that was easiest. However, if you needed to, you can cut this on, they do miter jigs, which would probably help you, which you could do it with my hand. It would be trickier. It may not get quite as smooth a cut, but you can sand this. So what I would do is I'd cut it as close to 60 as you can. I would get some sandpaper, a big sheet. I would either glue it to a piece of wood, or if you can, get somebody to hold the corners, and then I would just sand it like that. and that'll flatten it out if you haven't cut it perfectly. Now I was lucky that the drop saw got this pretty damn close, so I don't really need to worry about that for myself. But before I had all these tools, these were things I used to do. Anyway, so once you got this cleat system, the way I figured out how that all works, I actually got one of those pieces. I think this is not the right one. I think it's this one here. Yeah. Got this piece. I actually cut a little bit off the bottom, so I had the exact size and shape. I figured out where I wanted this by holding it, marking it. I used a second person for that because you got one person to hold it, second person to look at it and go, yeah, that looks about right height, and then mark the actual circles. So you can see I originally thought it was here. I held it there, didn't like it, ended up putting it in this location, liked it a lot better. So to get these cleats, what I do is I got one of these bits of an offcut and I put it on wood and I traced out top half. Now you want to make sure you trace the inside because the inside's smaller than the outside. I did 2 of those. So one here, for example, do another one there, cut it out either with a jigsaw or I use the bandsaw for mine, but you can use either one. Any kind of saw, cut that shape out. I then sanded it. You could be sanding it by hand. I used my Radius Master. And then I put a slight bevel on it. Now this is tricky if you haven't got a machine like the Radius Master. However, you can do it by clamping it to a bench. Probably getting a file, I think, would be the easiest thing. Files help you get flat profiles because they don't bend. Unlike sandpaper, where sandpaper can deform to the shape of your fingers. Whatever's behind the sandpaper is the shape that will basically come through. So if you're doing just knocking edges off, it doesn't matter. But if you ever want to do something like really flat or straight, use a file or glue sandpaper to a flat piece of wood. That'll help you get the straightest kind of edges and finishes. But anyway, so I used the Radius Master first. I think I went over it with a file afterwards to make sure it was all smooth and flat. And then what I did was I held this in place, and as you can see, kind of, if I can push it on the side, it's pretty damn close. So I held this, I got some hot glue, I put it on this, I pushed it up as far as it would go against the PVC, wait for that to dry, and then I got the bottom piece, and I did it to the bottom. The reason why you want a bottom piece as well as the top piece is taking all the weight, and the top piece is holding it, stopping it from sliding down. What the bottom piece does is it restricts the amount of movement and wobble it's got. Without this, it could quite easily sit like that or like that. And while you may think, oh, what's the big deal? It over a bigger piece, that affects how straight it looks. As you can see, I've spent a bit of time and I've got pretty much most of these looking quite vertically straight. Before I had that bottom tab in, that was a problem I was having. That things were moving and things weren't looking straight. But if you look at it this way, everything looks quite relatively straight. It's straight enough for what I need. But yeah, so basically I cut little rings off all the pieces I was using. I purposely cut them bigger than what I needed to do this. And then once I got that, because this is a crucial part, there's a lot of weight on this and it's quite a steep angle. If the glue ever was to slide a little bit, everything would move and it would be quite a tricky issue to fix. So because of this, I did actually use some nails. Now this is the first time on this entire project I've used something other than hot glue to attach it. It depends on what you're doing. Sometimes I feel like it's important, sometimes I don't. Because I never want these to move, having 3 nails in them, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that really locks this in. It would have been a good idea to use probably white glue on this. The tricky thing with white glue is I would have had to clamp it somehow and I would have had to hold it, nail it while this was there. Using the hot glue meant it held it in the exact location I wanted. It dried within a couple of seconds and it was pretty fixed. So the nails are just there for extra support if the glue was ever to melt. Not that it really does. The only issue I've had with anything is if I've ever left this out in the sun when I'm working on another project, here in Queensland, which is along the central east coast of Australia, it gets pretty warm in summer in particular. And hot glue is good for 95% of the time, but as soon as it gets hot, it starts weakening, and that's basically how hot glue works. So just having those nails on all these things really just alleviates any issues I may have in the future. So yeah, that's that. In terms of rooms, I haven't really done too much in terms of filling out the rooms. I probably will hopefully do a little bit more of that in the next couple of days. The next step will be to make these little spires. Now I've been playing around with a few ideas. On the bigger towers, I'm thinking of doing spires a little bit like this. Now this is just a bit of paper I just folded up as a rough template guide. I don't know if they'll look exactly like this when I'm finished. I definitely want them to extend further past the pipe than what this one is. But I don't mind the general height and shape. Yeah, it's going to take a bit of playing. Look, to be honest, by the time I finish this, it may be completely different. I feel like this one, the one on this side, and those three up there are going to be similar in shape and style. I don't really want them too tall. I feel like that's tall enough. However, these little ones, I really like the idea of them being really, like, quite tall and really thin, like needle-like almost, with a kind of flange out the sides to give a bit of weather protection, I guess. Don't know exactly why. I've seen a picture like that, I think, or something, and it just, to me, in my head, it's going to look cool. However, sometimes you try building these things, and what looks good in your head, either you don't fully build out in reality, or it doesn't actually look as good as you thought it would. So this is very much going to be an experimental process. So this here is the tavern part. I've started filling out this room a little bit. This will be where the players will probably go to first in this whole tavern. Or this whole building, sorry. So you can see I've had some shelves that I actually built myself a little while ago. These are pretty much just made out of popsicle sticks. I glued some popsicle sticks to some paper, or maybe it was even cardboard, and then I glued some onto the side. This is all using hot glue again. Sprayed them black as a base coat, and I'm going to have to paint them up. I haven't actually got anything yet to put on them, but I figured the shelves actually kind of look cool as a backdrop. These are some barrels I got from the Deep Cuts path, or I don't know if it was Deep Cuts or the Paisio. Either way, one of the WizKids lot of minis that came out. I've got a mini there for scale. Now, originally, I had my friend build me a small bar for this, and while the bar itself looked absolutely awesome, when I actually put it in here, the scale was unfortunately a bit too big. It was coming up to like the mini's head, so unfortunately I did rebuild the bar to a size that fit in with the scale of the building. He did make the tables for me, which are absolutely awesome. I love those. The back here will be a kitchen area. I don't really think players will go in there, but if they decide to, they can. And then there'll be stairs leading from this level up to the next level. There's a few other options, which what I might do to this. In hindsight, I think I am going to have to slightly redo this. Basically, what I'll have to do is, well, I'd kind of like that with every other room in this tavern, I can just have the room on the table. I don't have to have the whole structure. The structure is cool, and I definitely want to show it to them. That's how I would love to introduce it to them that way. But if I don't get it done like that, then, you know what, they can just start in certain rooms. But I feel like this tavern will be probably where they spend most of their time, and it will be quite frustrating if I have to have the whole massive board for just one little room. This takes up a lot of room on the table and everything else, and while I want it there for when I want it, I want to have the option of not having it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take these walls off, and I'm going to redo a base the size of this that will go onto this base. It's going to be a little bit tricky because I've done everything so it fits together perfectly off where it is now. In theory, all I'm going to do is raise the whole thing up 6mm and have this attached to a 6mm base, which then attaches to this in terms of locking in pins and everything else. So as far as I can tell, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Now, I have worked with taking the hot glue off before. It's not exactly fun, but it's doable. The way I do it typically is I will get a heat gun or a hairdryer or something, and I will heat up the joins here and here and here, and I'll go over it quite a few times. Now, heat guns, you could potentially burn the wood. A hairdryer, it's very unlikely you'd burn the wood, so you just be careful with it. And once everything's quite warm, then you can slowly pull it away. You may need to sand it after to get everything smooth again. But in theory, as this all fits into the level below, when I flip it over, there's all locking pins and I know what size I want it. It shouldn't make too much of an issue, as long as I keep these locations the same. So what I do is I will draw with a pencil around exactly where this is, exactly where that is. I'll cut a base out to the exact same size, and I will put everything together. I'll put the whole building together, and then when the whole building sits flat and perfect how I want it, and these are right how I want them, I'll put, I haven't quite figured out how to do this. I think I'll do a thin bead of wood around the outside. Now what that will do is that is going to kind of look like a small architrave around the building, like a footstone, I guess. But that will mean that when I want to, this building sits in exactly where it's supposed to. That building will sit in exactly where it's supposed to. And I can just have parts of it. I can just take the tavern out when I need to. That's probably going to be one of my next projects. I think it's going to be a tricky one, but I think it'll be worth it in the long run. I haven't really started on this side yet. That is going to be the rooms. I don't think it'll take me very long to do. Once I get a drawing or an idea in my head as to what I want the floor layout to be, where I want the stairs to go, where I want this to go, then I'm just literally making rooms in between and they can kind of do what they want with them themselves. Yeah, so that is that tavern level. I have got an idea for the second level, which if I bring that over, let's put this there. Off. Now you can see I've drawn the floor plan out roughly. I want this to be a mezzanine. I'm going to cut this section out and then have it so that players can kind of look down at the bar. It'll give them, I don't know, I kind of feel like it brings the two rooms together. They're still separate, but it's cool to see how they interact with each other. So if somebody was still down in the bar, they can kind of do what they want to do, and the mezzanine level can be either next to it, or it could be on top of it, or it's a cool way to interact. This is where the stairs are from the bottom level, so they'll kind of go through here. There'll be a little bit of a landing, and there'll be another set of stairs. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I may do the stairs on the other side or something. I haven't quite figured out where or how I'll put these next lot. Who knows? I don't know. When I actually cut this stuff out and actually have a look at it, I'll see what makes sense to me or what looks cool or what works. But yeah, that's the next level. The level after that is the top roof, which will be basically this level. So when I figure out how they're getting up to here, there's a few things that will go on this level. I haven't actually really figured this out. This is kind of where I've got a lot of options. I know that somewhere in here I want to put a room that it's kind of like a teleportation room. Places where they can go, like there's a teleportation circle, and they can, if they've got high enough renown within the guild or enough money to pay for travel, whatever I figure out the cost is, that they can travel around the world of Terrain without having to go there. It's kind of like a fast travel. Now, I don't think they'll get this for a very long time. At least not for the next, I don't know how many sessions. They don't really need to go anywhere right now. At the moment, I think they're happy with staying in Lutheran. There's quite a lot of stuff going on around here, and probably as they explore Lutheran more, they'll discover plots and stuff that will take them further away. I think they'll probably travel there, realistically, especially the first few times. This is, in my understanding of how this will work, will probably be when they are maybe 10th level or something, that they will have explored enough of the world that they can then teleport. Kind of like in Skyrim or something where you can fast travel, but only once you've been there. So that's kind of how I think I want this to work. But it will teleport really only between guild houses, or maybe, I don't know. There's a bit of thinking in that. So if anyone's got any ideas, please comment below. Let me know what you think, or even ideas for how I could fill out certain rooms or towers or whatever you reckon might look good or might work within a guild house. I'm certainly open to ideas. That's most of the current progress of the last couple of days or weeks. I don't remember how long it's been since I've done the last video. It's still got a long way to go. I'm kind of excited that I've almost finished at least the outside of what this guild's going to look like, which is cool, because then I can start adding stuff like balconies, I can start adding windows, all the decorative stuff, all the little bits and pieces of detail that will really bring this to life. Other than just being a cool structure, it will actually be, it'll look like a guild house, it'll look like something that could exist, which is what I'm kind of aiming for. And I love the painting stage. When you actually start putting colour on, it really takes it from being a wooden model to, wow, this could actually be something. I've got a few plans to do details. I'm thinking the main resources I'm going to use will probably end up being popsicle sticks. I ended up buying quite a few hundred of them really cheap from, I think it was like a craft store or Bunnings, one of the two. I think I bought from both at different times. So what I'll end up doing is I'll probably cut those into like smallish pieces. I'll use them for maybe shingles on the roof or support beams around doors and stuff. Just depends. That's probably, a little while away. I think filling out the inside of the rooms is a little bit more important, and especially getting those 2 bottom rooms off the main base. But that's what I'm up to. So if any of you guys like this, please do like the video or subscribe to the channel. Please comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, especially for like inspiration on what I could do in different rooms or different areas. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Peace out.